then
we'll start recording.
Cool, man. So, all right. So what is this, episode 21, Jared?
21, yes.
So welcome to episode 21 of the Entrepreneurs Roundtable. We've been doing this now for 21 weeks, and we started this 21 weeks ago, and the main purpose is just to talk to entrepreneurs and kind of get inspiration on, it's either why they do it, helpful tips, struggles they have, maybe why they hate it. I don't know. Like, we kind of go all over the place. And so if you feel like it, you could tell a little bird in the top left there. You could tweet it out to anyone on your Twitter page. And if you want to check out our Facebook group, it's entrepreneursroundtable.com. I'm sorry, Entrepreneurs Roundtable on Facebook. We don't have a website. And today we got Clark Lagerman. He's a buddy of mine. He runs MedPro Wellness out of Jersey. And he just did an Ironman over the summer. And we got connected. I just actually was just checking my email to see how long we've actually known each other, man. And it was about a year ago, a year and a couple months when Brian Bergen sent us an email intro.
Yep.
And so welcome, dude.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we switched our times. So me and Jared were both on the Pacific Coast Jared for like ever, but I was out there. So when we started the show, we were Pacific Standard Time, and then in the last 2 weeks ago, both of us moved to the East Coast, and then we also pushed the time up. So we went from being at 1 o'clock in California to now 5 o'clock on Jersey time, or Jersey and Virginia, Virginia, right? No, North Carolina.
No, Virginia.
Virginia, yeah. So yeah, man. Jared, you want to add anything before we dive in?
No, let's get started. I will say really quick though, like I can't seem to find my headphones. So why don't you do the quick intro with him? Let him give his quick little intro. I'm gonna run and grab. I know to repair my car really quick. I don't want to do any feedback halfway in.
Sure. Cool,
so while you're doing that, I'm gonna go grab my headphones. I will be right back.
Awesome. So Clark, man, give us a little intro. We're gonna talk about the Ironman. We're gonna talk about the business, but just kind of give us a little background about your company, like when you started it, why you started it, and just kind of fill in some blanks.
Sure. So 5 or 6 years ago, was working the corporate grind, probably like many of your listeners, and just saying, is my life really all about this? And eventually I put on my big boy pants, quit my job, raised money from friends, family, investors, and set out to build a kick-ass company. That was my goal. And over the blood, sweat, tears, errors, omissions, everything under the sun, I learned a lot, and my first business wasn't the massive success I had hoped it out to be. But what that did, it presented me with a few opportunities, met some really interesting people, and I was able to take the original business concept, this technology around engaging people around healthier ideas, when and for what reasons to go see their doctor, how to be healthier, how to lose weight, and roll it into a new company, MedPro Wellness. And what we do is we bring really dynamic health coaches, inspirational individuals into people's lives and help them reach health goals, whether it's losing 10 pounds, whether it's being healthier before a wedding. We do this in corporations, municipalities, so City of Newark, New Jersey, one of our large clients. And we're really just designed to help people follow a healthy lifestyle. And Mike, I know it's something you and I have talked about in the past, your paleo ride and things you're really passionate about. So just giving people access to information and ensuring that they're following the right stuff. There's a lot of noise out there, so just making sure they know the right information at the right times.
So why? So a couple questions really intrigue me here. So one, you got capital, so we'll start with that, and then I want to kind of dive into the whole health part of it and why that's the model. But so a lot of people, a lot of startups, they can do it in a couple ways. They can either bootstrap it, or they can go to a bank. I mean, I've heard of this, going to a bank and saying, I need money. Yeah, exactly. It's
Good luck.
I've actually heard of people going to get car loans now, and they'll take that out easier and they'll put it towards the business.
Yeah.
But for you, so you actually had startup capital, went around and talked to friends and family and raised it. So what was that process like?
Well, the first process was putting my money where my mouth was, and I put my own money up. So I walked away from my corporate job, and depending on what sort of entity you create for your business, you can actually cash in your 401k and put your 401k as an investment as your business. So I did a Schedule C, which allows you to do that. And so I buckle up, man. I put all that money I was from my company and from my previous jobs, and I put it into my business. And that gave my friends and family the confidence that I was all in. And they gave me some seed funding as well. And then I hit up every person I could possibly think of and raised capital successfully, which was awesome. But that wasn't the success I've seen today. That was kind of venture one. And with more money, more problems, right? Like the more money you have, the greater.
I'll let you know when I'm there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the greater likelihood you are to take more risks, be more of a gambling man, and the pain doesn't hurt you quite as much. So I was able to burn through a lot of money very quickly, making a lot of bad decisions. And a lot of people come out of the woodwork when they know you have money, you've raised capital. So unfortunately, that brought a lot of errors into our business. So the second business, MedPro, we are self-funded. So we have no outside investors. We're profitable. We're growing. We're hiring people, and it's awesome. So it's been a great turnaround.
That's awesome, dude. So when you kind of just going back to, I know like this is kind of going back to the first attempts and that led to MedPro, but when you were doing the seed funding, because I think this would be really useful for the people listening, because a lot of the people in our group, like I don't know if, Jared, do you know if like anyone in our group has actually tried to get funding for their business?
Not that no one's like actually said that.
Yeah. So like, it's interesting because for me, for my business, I basically have always just funded it by myself. I've never, it's here and there I've thought about what if I went to a bank and did this, but then it just doesn't compute for me. So like when you did this, so go on.
I was just saying most of our people from the ones I've talked to, I mean, we have more than we've actually able to interact with, but from everyone who's active, it's either they started it as a side hustle while they still had a job, or they were just salesmen and they went out and they just sold stuff as they figured out how to build the business around their ability to sell their idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually a lot of them don't really have, because, Clark, you've got a whole, you've got employees. Do you do freelancers? Is everyone full-time?
That we have full-time. I have the tax bills to prove it. I was just paying some bills today. I'm like, damn that tax man, stop collecting my money. I'm trying to grow my business. So we definitely have the W-2 employees. We have some 1099, and I like those 1099 employees, but they're not part of the team quite as much as our full-time staff.
Yeah. Like, do you, so, and I don't want to jump around too much. My head just starts like firing off questions. Like every time someone says, I'm like, oh, I want to talk about that. But I mentioned before the whole health part. Like, why did you choose? And we're going to talk about the Ironman thing, which I probably sit here for like 2 hours listening to that. But like, what? Because that just sounds fucking insane.
Yeah.
Why health? Like, did you see that there was just a market? Like, did you look at it from a business aspect and say like, this is where the markets are. This is the market share I want to take and go in that aspect. Or did you go from like your heart? Like, I just want to do health, and like I don't care about market share. I don't care about the technical business crap. I just want this for me personally, and because I think that it's something I'm passionate about.
Yeah, I think going in any business, you have to have some sort of background, some sort of knowledge base in it. So before I quit my job, I was in the healthcare industry. I was a medical device salesperson. I was the person inside the operating room instructing doctors how to do surgical procedures. No, doctor, don't make that decision there. Here's what I need you to do. I want you to extract back this layer of skin. I want you to insert it like this. So I did that very successfully. And as I was sitting there, I remember the exact instance this happened. I was sitting in an operating room in NYU, waiting for a case. And a case is a surgery. So waiting for a surgery to start. And I did a lot of male health procedures. So I worked with a lot of men. And we did things for erectile dysfunction. So men that just had no function. And this was diabetes caused because of diabetes, cardiovascular disease, just being obese, having just general health issues. So these men would go through these surgical procedures to help improve their functionality. And I was just thinking, I'm like, I cannot believe this man is going to go through something so dramatic as a surgical procedure, all because he wasn't healthy. Like, you have got to be kidding me right now, because you didn't eat right. You didn't work out. You were sat around a lot. So I thought there had to be a better way, and ultimately fell into what I'm doing right now. But it wasn't the kind of first iteration, as you know, and your listeners know. You never the first swing is never the one you hit out. It's kind of like you start realizing what really clicks and what people are responding to, that product market fit, and ultimately came up with this solution that we found, designing programs around experts and then letting people deliver those programs to individuals.
That's cool, man. Yeah, man. Like, I think the first company should be just called the, let's see, like, do you have the energy for this shit? It's like, it's the giant test and saying, this is just a preview of, can you handle this, you know? And then there's, you know, a lot of times like people will just take off with it and they'll stick with it, but it's never easy. I mean, I don't know anyone who started a company unless you're Instagram and you got, you know, what was it, 5 months and you got $500 million or whatever stupid thing was. But God bless them. But yeah, man. So yeah, that shit like drives me insane because you'll see people who are really obese and they're in these wheelchairs and they're driving around town, and it's like you almost stop for a second. You're just like, was it because you just kind of gave up, or did you, you know, why are you doing this? Like, why are you choosing this? And then they'll pay all this money for like, what is it, the rubber thing on their stomach to stop.
Bariatric, you know, bariatric surgery. Yeah.
Yeah. And it seems like if you just got up and just started walking and just, you know, cut out soda for a little bit and cut out fries or something, you can get down to this better, healthier level. And I think that's cool that you saw that instead of having someone spend tens of thousands of dollars to basically get it up again because he liked, you know, Mountain Dew or whatever the fuck, you know? So kind of the transition to that. So the Ironman, like, tell us about, did you feel kind of like when you signed up for that, like why? And did you feel that having a business that focused on health, it would be kind of aligned, or was it completely separate? Or
completely separate. I mean, the breadcrumbs of life, and when you do something and you realize there's a residual effect on your business, is awesome. It was not my intent whatsoever. It was more, I think, as you know, you're entrepreneurs, and as your listeners know, entrepreneurship in the startup game is a grind. Like, it is agony. It's tough. And there's no finish line. There's truly no finish line. So when you think about it, and I was going through this, my own personal kind of evolution of being a business owner, a founder, a CEO, and I was just faced with so many challenges, so many difficulties that I said, well, goddamn, this really sucks. Like, I'm really depressed. I'm really sad about how successful I thought I was going to be. And I never hit that success that I had thought I was designed for, destined for. So I said to myself, I need something that will push my physical limitations to the maximum. And I just started looking to find what was the most difficult, something I thought I can actually handle, the most difficult challenge I could come across. And I wanted to do it within a year. And I remember like watching like those Ironman guys like crawl across the finish line. I'm like, they are freaking lunatics. I'm like, it would be impossible for me to do this, impossible. And I'm like, well, that's the goal I'm going to choose. Like, I'm going to do this in 1 month. I think it's impossible, but I am going to do it. And I didn't tell anyone at first. I didn't even tell my wife I was thinking about doing this. A couple weeks later, I was like, all right, I'm all in. I told her I'm signing up. And just with the sort of personal sacrifice required to hit this goal, I didn't want to do it just run an Ironman. So I did it under a charity, under Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation, and rallied my friends, family, and community around it. We raised over $5,000 for cancer research, which multiple myeloma is a blood cancer, incurable right now. And it was a really rewarding experience. Got to meet a lot of interesting people, and it helped push me on a lot of those those training days, and just the agony, which I'm sure I'll talk to you about in a little bit, the agony of actual race day. But it was just an awesome experience. So
it seems so metaphorical for just owning a business, like how you said. It's parallel. It's so completely parallel. But at least at the end of the Ironman, you're like, at least you were done. I don't know. Or you told me the time you'd finished at, and you know, and you crossed the finish line. I mean, that's it. You know, so there was an end. It was a milestone. You know, I don't think there's ever, the end is like pretty much, you know, you're dead. Then there's basically just milestones where life kind of just gives you a cookie here and there for accomplishments. And so kind of tell us a little bit about that, because I know what is an Ironman again? Like what's
hell is basically what it is. It's hell. It's 140.6 miles. You have 17 hours to complete it. So you start typically very early in the morning, 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning. You swim 2.4 miles. Then you have the luxury of jumping on your bicycle and biking 112 miles. And then the way it gets better, you rack your bike, and then you get to run a marathon, 26.2 miles. And you have 17 total hours to complete it. And there's different cutoffs during the race that they'll tell you you're just never going to finish it, and you might as well hop back on your couch again. So it was tough. It was really tough.
I would say the running would be the worst part, because at least with the riding your bike, you could at least coast for a little bit, like a couple feet here and there, or is it just like hill? Like, you know, maybe I'm completely
There's the easiest part is the swim, because you're so energized. there's definitely challenges you face in there, but the bike is grueling. You're on there for 6 to 8 hours, maybe 9 hours just biking. So
really?
yeah, think about sitting on a couch
my
for 8 hours,
God.
how much your ass hurts after sitting on a couch for 8 hours. Think about sitting on a bike for 8 hours, and then you come talk to me. It's not fun. No.
Holy crap! I didn't know you were on it for that long.
Oh yeah. And you have to like eat. You have to consume calories. It's a regimen. It is a difficult regimen you have to maintain.
Jesus, dude, that's insane. Like, did you have? Because I know when we spoke. Like at some point during the year we spoke, and you were thinking about, because you're doing videos to explain to people and stuff, and you're talking about the whole, like, you know, the shirt rubbing in the front, and like, you know, there's these small little issues that arise. You're like, wow, my nipples are completely bleeding now. I wasn't really expecting that. You know, it's like, I can imagine sitting on a bike seat for 8 hours, and that can't be very comfortable. Like, do you have to have certain padded short pants on, or
a whole hour-long segment of padded pants? Yeah, padded pants.
Powdered pants,
padded pants, lubricants. I mean, all these things you just have no idea about. And it has such a correlation, Mike, as you're saying, with being an entrepreneur. Like, all these things from the outside looking in and saying, I can become an entrepreneur. It's not that easy. It's a lot easier said than done. And when you're in the actual startup game, the scene, the grind that we all know, there are things that all of us, everyone that's watching and listening right now, can relate to, because you're in the game, you understand what we're all going through. And same thing that happened with Ironman. When I was in there, I felt like I was alone, but I realized there's a whole community of people that have gone through that advised me, that gave me suggestions. And there's products to support me, much like there is for Startup Game. There's products to support our kind of email marketing, our social media engagement, our outreach efforts. So there's all these little hacks that are come about because people have gone through before you.
See, one thing that like really caught my attention, like that you did for the Ironman.
The what?
The padded shorts.
The powdered shorts.
Hashtag powdered shorts.
No. That's more of like a practical, tactical thing. That's like, how do I set up MailChimp or something like in the entrepreneurial world? But both for the race and as well as for, you know, entrepreneur. I think why so many people fail even in entrepreneur, or just taking a big task, whatever it may be. I mean, it could be battling like a life-threatening illness, and you know, some people will come out of it, even like cancer and stuff, and some people just kind of give up. You know, how you put something on the line. You didn't just go, "I'm going to run the Ironman," and then you're like, "Oh man, do I really want to do this?" You made it to where you couldn't go back. You did the whole bridge burning thing where you're like, "Okay, I'm going to rally my friends. I'm going to pick a cause." So first off, this was no longer about you.
Yep.
So when you're feeling like you're dying, you know, whether you're puking or you know those padded pants are starting to feel, you know, not so padded or whatever it is. It's no longer about
8 hours.
It's no longer like this is a me thing, and I'm kind of okay with stopping at this point. Yeah. It was bigger than you, and so that kept you going. And then just that, like you said, that support even with the training. I just so many entrepreneurs I talk to, whether it be like, okay, they are successful and it was like their first business or two, or they just give up and go to something else, was the fact of it was all about them. And, oh yeah, I'm going to be a solopreneur and I'm going to be on the beach, or I'm going to this, or, oh, I'm going to make a ton of money. And they never thought like what's the why? And I know even Mike, you struggle with this, and you got back to like energized with Drive 80. You're like, you know what, my why is to help like these nonprofits who are doing something awesome to get out there and do better. And for a while you got distracted on the actual animation or this or that or the tactical stuff, and you started to kind of burn out. And that's just one thing I've seen over and over is people, they're too focused on whatever, they get into it and then it's hard and they give up, versus you kind of set that thing where you said, I'm doing this for a bigger cause. And that's like the number one thing I would think, like now, at least at this point, you know, going into advice for an entrepreneur, you know, you hear all the Gary Vee stuff now, Hustle and Grant Cardone stuff, which is all great. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, like if you don't care that much about your goal, why are you going to be hustling to 2 a.m? You know what I mean? Like you're going to give up because it doesn't matter that much. And you're like, you know what, I'd much rather watch House of Cards, like, you know, Gary Vee talks about, because at the end of the day, like, you know, I wanted to make $10 million and I made 8.5, and I'm kind of good with that. I'm done, you know? So that was just awesome. And I mean, did that help? Do you think that if you had just said, I'm just doing this just because, you would have still made it through it?
Yeah, it's certainly to have a cause greater than yourself. It inspires you when you're sacrificing. I mean, this being an entrepreneur, running an Ironman, there's a lot of correlation. I mean, we could talk about this for hours, but what I found is that you have such personal sacrifice to do this. And you're sacrificing your family, your friends, your wife, your loved ones, your personal time, because you're committed to this goal. So if it's not for something much more meaningful than just making a few extra bucks, you will eventually peter out from it. I mean, like I was in corporate America. I was making $100,000, no problem. Then I wanted $200,000. I was making 200. Then I wanted 300. I wanted more and more and more. And I'm like, when is it going to hit the point when I'm like, I'm satisfied? And then I came out and I did this talk at Montclair State a while back. And I was telling the students, they all want to build this app and become this amazing entrepreneur and make all this money. So I show my tax returns, and this is no bullshit. I know, Mike, you curse in here, so it's no bullshit.
Swear away.
Swear away. I blocked out my social number, but I showed my tax returns. I showed what I used to make, and it was a lot more than I make right now. I showed 1 year, which I made negative $40,000. That's what was on my tax return. So if people think you're going to become a startup and a business owner and you're going to have all this money, it is completely not the case. So if you don't find a passion, a mission that you are more involved around and more kind of committed to, you won't have that level of self-fulfillment. I make a lot less money than I ever did, but I'm so much more satisfied and happy by my purpose and what I'm doing for others. And also what I'm doing for myself and my community. It's very satisfying for me right now.
Did you I didn't learn a lot about this stuff until about a year and a half, 2 years into owning my company. Like I didn't know about mindset and all this stuff. And, I didn't know who Gary Vee was until I think about a year after I started my business. Like I didn't have all the people that I surround myself with, video and books and like the group that I'm around. So I didn't know this shit at all. Like when you started, did you, you just wanted to feel, what's the word? Like you were doing something, the paychecks weren't enough. So you wanted to be like, I just want to feel like passion again. Like I want this to feel accomplished, So was that your thing? And you're like, and when you did have the negative $40,000 year, were you kind of like, man, this is a bad idea? Or were you like, screw it. This is exactly what it is. Like I've got to keep, plugging away. Yeah.
So actually when I quit my corporate job, it was because I wanted more money. That's the fact. It's the fact. I was like, I'm making whatever X. I want X times 2, X squared. I want that. And my company's not going to pay me. And the only way I can make the money I think I deserve is if I go out on my own. So I had very, very, very selfish intents to become an entrepreneur. And I was going after it for one reason. That was just to crush it for myself. And I got crushed instead. I mean, you have very selfish desires and selfish causes and selfish reasonings. And ultimately, you don't get the success you wanted. And when I was having those negative moments, no, it was like, I want to eat a bullet, man. It was horrible. It was agonizing. It was embarrassing. And right now I'm out of it. So I have a lot more confidence to have a conversation like this with you. I mean, it's certainly what's underneath the emperor's, gown. I wouldn't have had these conversations if I wasn't seeing success now, because it's a very embarrassing. You feel like a failure, which I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and I advise a lot of startups, and they go through this. And I've had many people cry in front of me and they talk about it. And I go, I've been there as well. Like I have been in that exact same moment you have been. But if you're committed to a goal that you are truly believing in, that you're passionate about, ultimately the money will come. It may not be as much money as you used to have, but ultimately, and you read all these books and you see this and you're like, there's no way it's true. This is not the case. This guy's blowing smoke up my ass. But now I've drank some of the Kool-Aid because I'm like, actually, it is the truth. Like it really does ultimately come out to it. Maybe if you're a painter, eventually you get that satisfaction and the desires of what you want to be satisfied with. But it definitely worked out much better than I hoped it to be.
Yeah, sometimes I'll second guess what I'm doing and being when I go to make a decision, I'm like, is this based off all the books I've read? Like, is there meaning behind this? Should I do it this way because, this is the path of success? And sometimes I stop and it just feels right. I just got to do it. And sometimes you get caught up in, sometimes you can read too much things at times and just be like, you have so many voices in your head saying this is the way to do it, and you just stop.
Yeah. Deer in headlights.
You kind of, it's like that, or we call it analysis paralysis. You overthink it, or you're in your mind, or the moment you go to do it, you're so excited, and then you let it go, and 2 minutes later, you start telling yourself every reason why it's not going to work, and then you freeze. Yeah. And it's unbelievable. And I think, I do that all the time. And now I'm at the point where I've learned to stop analyzing and just do. Mm-hmm. Just I'm a creative guy. Jared said, I found my why. I want to help nonprofits. I want to help businesses that are doing the better good for the world. But at the end of the day, what really drives me is creating, and I have to just create something. And I just got back into doing animating again, like physically getting back in the business. And that helps. Like, do you find with like your business that sometimes you're overseeing everything and it's not as satisfying, where like you want to jump in and be the product and do those things yourself, where you're like, I need a moment to do this, or I need to take on something where I'm not so like puppet master?
Great point, Mike. I just had that moment happen to me recently. I was kind of out of touch with what we send health coaches to work with individuals to help them achieve weight loss goals or getting off a medication. And so I hear about some of the stories, but I don't really interact too much with the patients or the members. I'm doing more on the strategic side of the business. But we got an awesome letter today from one of our members talking about metformin. She was on a medication, a diabetes medication, cholesterol lower medication. And she talked about how she lost 25 pounds in our program and how she's off this medication. And it's freaking awesome. And I'm like, man, I missed that. I missed that direct interaction with the person, because I'm on the other side of it. I'm trying to close deals. I'm trying to strategically place my company, try to hire the right people. And to hear what we're actually doing, that residual impact of these people who are going through a program that we created out of thin air, is so satisfying, man. It's like, you have a smile, you know you're basically giving back to others, and you're making money. It's like, it's the best of all worlds in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, some businesses they start with the idea, like we're talking about, like to just make money, like Zappos. I mean, Tony Hsieh saw a $100 billion industry. He said, if I shave off 1% of that, we'll be $1 billion company. So they started that. They didn't have a company culture or values until about 7 years in. You know, so sometimes you start with just money in mind, and then I think that's where the universe kind of weeds people out. I mean, it's just nature. It's like, as much as you want to go in a certain direction like that, then, you know, nature has a way of saying like, all right, well, you know, no, we're going to give you a lot of crap. And now you're really going to decide if you want to keep doing this, you know? And I don't know one entrepreneur, I always thought that if, you know, there's always that fear of, well, if I show them too much of the company, they'll go out and start their own. I'm like, have at it, you know? Yeah. Good luck. If someone came to me, if I had an animator and came to me and he's like, I'm gonna start my own company, I'd be like, go for it, bro. Like, you know, do what you got to do, because you're going to see that whatever you're seeing right now, you haven't seen what's led up to this point and what's happening behind the scenes, even up to this conversation. You know, like there's a lot of shit behind here that everyone's just like, oh, I want to be, you know, I want a business. It's like, you're not really going to do what you do.
Well, it's like any startups that are listening, any entrepreneurs, if you expect someone to sign your NDA, just get out of here. Like, just stop that insanity. Like, I'm not signing any NDA. God, like, no VCs doing that. It's just a waste of your time. I might even spend any time on that whatsoever. Just share your business idea. Hopefully have it far enough along. People are going to clone it. If it's great, everyone's going to do it. So it doesn't matter. Like, if you're better than that person, you believe in your product, you'll have more success. But just get it out there. Get it out into the market.
Yeah, I always say to people, every time I hear someone like talking about a business, because I've been traveling for the last like 7 months, and I'll stay with people, and you know, it'll be people who are working, and when I get there, like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, I want to start my own business. And I'm like, oh, and the moment I hear that, it's just like, I just jump on. I'm like, what are you doing? How can I help you? How can I like talk this through? And they'll say, well, this person's doing it. I'm like, well, just because there's Coke doesn't mean there's not Pepsi. You know, like, two giant entities, and they are doing the same. They're selling sugar water for a stupid amount of money, you know, and that's their product. But there are so many companies doing that. And if you just take that small share of it, and as long as I think if you just put the blinders on and just keep your head down and do what you do, it doesn't matter. You know, like I listened to Start With Why, and he said, when someone asks you why should they hire your business, you should say to them, we're better than we are 6 months ago, and we're going to be better than we are now 5 years from now. And I love that. You know, he's like, we're just competing with ourselves. And I thought that was a really cool way to look at it.
You're referencing Simon Sinek. Yeah. So anyone that wants motivation, there's an awesome, and I watch it probably once a month, about a 12 or so minute video on TED, Simon Sinek. You can do Start With Why, or the Law of Diffusion of Innovation is another way they have it categorized in Google. And watch that, man, and just really think about your business and what you're doing. And like, he talks about some amazing stories that are proof that this concept works and can bring a lot of value to you personally and professionally.
Yeah, man. I mean, he, in the book, he starts talking about like the last 16 minutes, he literally talks about when he was about 3 years into his company, and for 3 months he went into complete depression because he just didn't have his why. He didn't know what he was doing. And then he just he had the idea of the golden circle that he'd thrown around in his own mind, but he never shared it. He never said it out loud. So it always existed, and he kept going back to it. And when he shared it with someone, she was like, "This is brilliant. You have to put this out there." And then the moment that happened, he just exploded, and he does he charges 6 figures for a keynote.
God bless him.
To come and speak. I mean, that's incredible.
And he's actually your speaker next week. Congratulations, guys.
Yeah. That the Patreon's working, Jared. Yeah. Jared, you jump in here? You got any things, any questions here? I'm kind of taking over.
Yeah, no, yeah. I was realizing, I was like, man, I'm enjoying this so much. I forgot I'm actually one of the hosts here. I guess my question is, I keep looking in the background. I'm seeing it looks like a Muhammad Ali picture. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like it. And then I'm guessing the other one, I can't really see what it is, but it's a quote too.
Jordan.
Is that Michael Jordan?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Jordan. And so I'm guessing with what you do, I mean, because you're kind of you're an entrepreneur, but you're also kind of in the health, industry and stuff, what you're doing. So both of those I can see as being a drain, right? Because we've already talked about the entrepreneur stuff. I mean, health as well. I mean, you're dealing with people. I'm sure you get negative mindsets. I'm sure there's people just roadblocks and stuff all the time of excuses and this and that. What do you do to keep yourself, energized, on the right track, to not to kind of keep your force filled up, right? To keep all that from coming onto you. And if you've talked to 6 people in a day who all have excuses of why they can't hit their health goals, of why they can't hit their business goal, of why, this is the thing. I'm seeing you nodding your head when Mike's talking about I talk to people and they have excuses, and you're like, yeah,
all day long.
Yeah, exactly. How do you deal with, because I see both of those industries as being really heavy with a lot of excuses and a lot of, for lack of a better term, just hopeless people, not because they're hopeless, but because they've given up. How do you keep any of that from attaching itself to you, and you keep strong and you keep going?
Yeah, I think when you have those victories, the single victory in that day, it just rewards you for all the failures you had throughout. But I think the quote you're reading behind us, they talk about failure, and we show this to our members coming in because it's important for them. Talk about swinging and missing. Talk about Jordan, how many game-winning shots he missed over here. We talk about Muhammad Ali not being afraid and what he's going through. And the quote you can't see, which sits over my desk, it's a quote from Babe Ruth, and I've had it on my desk since my very first job out of college. It says, "It's hard to be the person that never gives up." So I think about that every freaking day. I thought about it during the race. I thought about it when I quit my job. I thought about it. And Will Smith has another great quote that goes in even that much more detail about him on a treadmill beating anyone. He'll rather die than lose to you on a treadmill. But we try to really empower these people and say, there are a boatload of failures, and it's not going to be easy. But if you compare yourself to the guy that has the 6-pack abs, it's unrealistic. Let's get you small victories today. And Mike, you kind of talked about drinking the Mountain Dew. Maybe you're drinking 10 cups of Mountain Dew, and people do that crap, and it's so bad. Yeah. And to think that they're going to switch to carrot juice right away, that guy.
I'm funny, Jared. Jared was like a Mountain Dew fiend, and he quit it. I don't know which way.
Wrong way. But it'll all work out in the recording. I don't know why Blab does that. It's all weird, but
it's like
yeah. Jared loved all the soda, man. That was
his
thing.
The energy drinks was the thing that when we were talking, and I've not. It's actually funny because on the way out, I hadn't touched any of them, and I just dropped it. And that was the thing, is I never went back. And then I talked to you. I'd still had some struggle, my different struggles and stuff with other sugar stuff like soda and stuff. But energy drinks, it was just something I've been doing since 2009. I picked up just at work, and I tried and I quit, and I'd never anything. And Mike worked with me, and I ended up dropping it. And then on the drive out here, I was talking to my wife ahead of time. I'm like, I don't want to drink them again. Not because I care to drink just on the drive, but I'm worried that I'm going to pick that up again, and I don't want to undo my success and all that stuff. And then it got to where I drove out here so fast, not speed, but I hardly slept. So I ended up drinking a few just because I needed to literally having an energy drink addiction isn't really a big deal when you're dead on the side of the road because you fell asleep. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna drink a few. I made sure I stayed away from the one I liked, and I was drinking other brands. And then it was an issue. And then I got here, and then I was like, okay, I'm done. I needed those, to get here. And I was like, what is it that made that work so well? And then I need to reverse engineer that and start applying that into other things in my life, things I want to either give up or things I want to start doing, like healthy habits and stuff. Just because of, I don't know, whatever you did with that, Mike, worked really well.
Well, I think it's we talked about that it was like a mental like what's the word? It's just like a tick, like something you related to. So like Clark, when you talk with your patients, like do you find that it's not about the drink or the tea, or the things that they're eating? Do you ever like talk to them and say like, we need to find out why you're doing this? Like what is that emotion does it trigger for when you have soda? Like what does it trigger? Like is this past thing when you were like 10 years old and you had your first soda and it was with your dad and it was a great moment, and now you're just trying to relive it all the time now? And it's like, do you go that deep with them, or you're like, just not fucking drink it?
Yeah, no, we go that deep. And again, the coaches we've hired are just amazing. They make these personal connections. I remember one of my coaches went into an office, a physician's office, and he came out probably 30 seconds after sitting down with someone. And he's like, I need tissues. I'm like, what happened? I wasn't in the room. He's like, I need tissues for her. I'm like, oh my God, like in 30 seconds, you made that level of connection with her. And I find that people are a lot of times, they read these magazines, they see this 6-minute abs, they see all this garbage out there, and they basically put themselves up against a celebrity that we all know is airbrush. Oh, I know it's airbrush. Everyone, they're all airbrushed. Yeah. That is just an unrealistic individual that they should never strive to be more like. It's like the dad body. Everyone's like, oh, the dad body is disgusting. That's real. Like that is real. You are not going to have 8% body fat. That is unrealistic. I was training for the Ironman as hard as I possibly could, and I got down to 13% body fat. And
I was going to ask you, like, what did you see like physical changes where you were like, yes, your wife was like, oh, hell yeah. Like, this is
I got actually too skinny, but I lost like 20 pounds. I dropped about 5% body fat down.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great. It was awesome, but it's just unrealistic. And I completed a race, I guess, last month or so, or maybe 2 months ago. And I've already gained 10 pounds back, but it's like, this is my playing weight. Like, this is what I should be at. It's realistic to me. But I think in most people, like, they have these cycles of life. They go home, they watch TV, they eat their food in front of the TV. They don't think about it. They have bigger plates. They have 12-inch plates. Get a 9-inch plate. That's one life hack you could put into your day right now that will help you lose weight, because you're going to load up a 9-inch plate and you're going to realize how gluttonous we eat as Americans versus a 12-inch plate. A 12-inch plate looks like you don't have enough food. So put more pretzels on there. Put more potato chips. Put more French fries on there. That's what we do. It's empty calories. Easy life hack right there to lose weight. Easy.
Yeah, I stayed with a couple when I was in Redondo, and it was these 2 women, and they were from the Philippines, and they said when their parents would come over, they would just be like in shock. They're like, what the hell? There's so much food here, and you open your eyes up, and you're right, man. The portion, it's all about portion. I mean, a lot of it's about portion control, but even, that's why Weight Watchers works. It's like the point system is basically portion control. It's like, you can have your pretzels, you can have your soda, but you have like a little bit, and then that's it. You can't have all this other good stuff. So that it's like, it starts teaching people about portion control, but also doesn't. I mean, I don't know how well it works where they transition from crap to good food. Like, I don't know the percentages of that.
Probably a large dropout.
Yeah. So, like, what's like a really amazing success story that MedPro's had, like, recently, or just since you started, where you're like, this was unbelievable, life changing for me and for that person?
Yeah, we have one patient that actually we use on our website as a testimonial. Her name is Eileen. And she was overweight, out of shape, on a variety of medications. And her days revolved, kind of, Jared, as you were saying, like, what am I doing that causes me to eat more food and be involved? Her days revolved around fast food, eating when she felt bad, and just this habit that was so destructive for her. And she went through our program, and it's just thrilling to hear what she did. She lost almost 40 pounds, 36 pounds, I think, the last time we spoke to her. She was off 2 of her medications. She now, I wouldn't even call it works out, but she's active like 1 hour every 3 days, which is awesome. She used to just be on her couch, and she is just so happy, so thrilled that she never thought she can achieve this. And she's not gonna, she's not gonna be in a bikini anytime soon, and she's still overweight, but she went from being obese to having high blood pressure to being normal blood pressure and still being overweight and achieving her goals. And she's thrilled by it. It's like small steps, like these gradual changes. You can't just jump into the end of the deep end of the water. You need to take these small steps, learn how to swim first, and then eventually get to the goals you're looking for. So that was thrilling.
Awesome, yeah. So let's talk about, we got about 20 minutes left. Did you have to jump off early? Because I know you have a 6 o'clock that you got to jump on. Okay. And I do have to jump at 6 because I have to go drink because I haven't drank in 140 days. Actually, I'm not kidding. I'm being actually honest. So like marketing wise for like MedPro, like what do you find? Because I know you follow like the whole Gary Vee stuff, and you're Simon's. I say Simon Sinek. It's Simon's. How do you say it?
You say tomato, I say tomato. I don't know. We're probably both wrong or both right.
I'm right. Well, this is my show. This is my show,
Winner.
Jim, not yours. So like, what would you say has been a good marketing strategy you've had for your company that you were like, this has been a really cool, like, something to give to like the entrepreneurs watching, because everyone's always looking for info in our group. Again, if anyone's, just join, it's Entrepreneurs Roundtable. It's on Facebook. It's free to join. You can just click join and we'll let you in. So like on there, everyone's always posting like, here's a cool tip. Here's a cool tip. Mm-hmm. But I'd like to see a real life thing that you've done where you're like, we did this and it was awesome.
Sure. I mean, I would say, I don't want to call myself an expert on LinkedIn, but I'm pretty damn good at it. I use it all the time. And I was very successful on getting investors on LinkedIn, getting board members on LinkedIn, getting customers on LinkedIn. Like, this is what we've done. So in the B2B market, that's where you want to spend your time at. And there's really easy hacks that you can use. The Boolean searches, which is probably most people are familiar with how you search on Google and what you want to do, the and, or, the parentheses, a variety of other little things that we can talk about in more detail. But one of the things I found most successful is I was one of those heavy users on LinkedIn. So I would send a lot of messages to people. And I got flagged, and LinkedIn said, we're going to close your account. I'm like, oh, Jesus, like I'm going to get kicked off of LinkedIn, and what am I going to do? And so what I found is that a nice hack is you search for the person you're looking for, and you scroll down to the bottom of their page. Don't even try to connect with them because they'll mark you as spam. Because, Mike, if I don't know you and I send you a message to connect, you may or may not accept. There's some people like me that accept all of those.
Right.
But you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page. You look to see what groups they're in. Then you open up a second tab in your browser. You go to that group, you search for that person's name. And once you find that person, you can send them a message and it will not be prohibited by LinkedIn. So it goes directly into their inbox. It kind of overrides the kind of blocking that LinkedIn has. Some people have that suppressed where you can't do that. But for the most part, you'll get 80+% of people being able to see that message respond directly into their inboxes.
What do you say to someone cold? Like, you're going after cold. Do you just come out and say like, hey, like, this is my business. I'm actually
feedback.
You look very unhealthy. I think you'd really benefit from this.
Yeah. So this was we're doing this more for B2B. So in the B2B market, we're just now releasing our platform for B2C. But in the B2B market, I would say, hey, Mike, I was looking for entrepreneurs in Morristown area. I see you are in this great group. I wanted to ask you for a little bit of feedback. And here's my kind of one blurb. And then the trial closed, like, do you have time Tuesday at 2:00 or Thursday at 5:00 for a 10-minute phone call? And we were getting about, you're not getting 100%. We were getting about 30% of people responding back to that. So 30%, I'd get them on the phone and I would sift through the suspects versus the prospects. Yeah. And I would close deals down and I would get people to either invest or become a board advisor all through that process.
Wow. I was looking at your LinkedIn right before you said LinkedIn because I was trying to I wanted to find the site. I just posted that there. If anyone wants to check out what he's talking about, it's in there in the comments. And so I was on your LinkedIn when you said that, and I was like, okay, let me look at it really quick. And your LinkedIn profile is pretty impressive. So I can tell you've definitely been active in there.
Try. It's an easy way to not work hard but work smart. People are on LinkedIn. I just got invited. I'm talking Thomson & Reuters. They're doing IPO or entrepreneur event in May, and I was approached by the conference organizer. He was like, man, I was searching for entrepreneurs. I came across your profile. We jumped on a call. He's like, damn, your background's impressive. I love what you're doing. We spent 15 minutes on the call, and I'm one of the speakers. In May, I'll be in the city or New York City. And I'm doing a talk on startups and how to run a business. All through that, I did no work. Other than it's like the crumbs of your business, and people a lot of times they throw out the crumbs. I present on something. Maybe today I'm doing this, or I'm talking tomorrow at Montclair State on Ironman and running a business. So the timing is perfect for this. I'm going to do a slide deck for it. So instead of me just keeping the slide deck on my computer, I'm going to post it to SlideShare. Hopefully, I get 1 or 2 or 5 or 100 people to come on there, and ultimately that trickles down into hopefully a business opportunity for me. Most people don't do that though. They do all the hard work, and then it sits on your computer. Stop that, man. Like, post it somewhere. It's easy business.
Yeah, and if you have the crumbs in the bag, if you just kind of crush them together, you can make like another little pastry.
Hell yeah, dude.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Everybody else do that? Just me? I love doing that. I don't know. This is so good. That's awesome, man. So like, who would you say is one of your top like I don't know, like inspirations, like people out there that you just, you know, aspire to be. Like this person, man or female, like they are where like my goal is to be.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we all look at wealth. We still evaluate.
Besides me,
Mike Doyle.
He's gonna
drop it and walk out. I mean, when I became an entrepreneur, I really had no desires other than to think I'm going to be Mark Zuckerberg. It's like everyone does that. You're going to quit your job and build this app and be the richest person in the world. No, you're not. I'm sorry, You're not. You're just not going to be that person. So one of the books that really resonated with me and kind of made me really think differently about my business was Losing My Virginity, Richard Branson's book. And he is a huge risk taker. And he should not be alive right now for what he has done in his life. It's just when I read his book, I was like, this man should not be alive. And I really thought of how he did things and the way he did the risks he took. And I would kind of look towards me being a leader like that or an entrepreneur like that, a founder like that, because he took a lot of risks and he did it very intelligently, but he was not afraid to push the envelope as hard as possible to ensure that his business was a success. So I would say that'd be something that looked like that.
You know what I love about that too, because when he started off, like he was, he had a learning disability when he was a kid, right? And I love that when I'll talk to people about, I'm always trying to fire people up. I just have it in me. Like I'm just always like super like excited, and I just think, I don't know, it's just something that's in me. And when I talk to people, I'm like, you know, you could do this, you could do that, like this big and all this. Yeah, we should film this. So like, I'll do that to people, and they're like, yeah, well, but you know, they were like, you know, that's that person, or they had this, or they did this, and just like, and I was talking to someone a couple weeks ago, and just go wrap back around what I'm saying, but we were having coffee, and then she was talking about this stuff. I'm like, why don't you go do that? Like, why don't you go travel? Like, why don't you do that? And she's like, well, you know, this, that. I'm saying, yeah. I'm like, I'm traveling. She goes, yeah, but you have your own business. I go, I made it. I was like, no one gave it to me. And she like stopped. She's like, it's true. You know, and I was like, you know, just think outside of just that initial response of, yeah, well, like before you open your mouth, like anybody, you know, just think a little bit this way. And, you know, like Tony Robbins and, you know, Richard Branson and Gary Vee, you know, all these people out there that are successful, like they weren't born with this name and said like, whoa, one day you're going to, you know, the throne is here and it's waiting for you to show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They were like, I mean, I think that anybody has that throne waiting for them. I think every single person has that throne waiting for them. And about 90% of people completely throw it out the window, and then they die. And they're like, wow, I lived a really boring life. And, you know, and I say this all the time, it's like, this isn't your practice life. And, you know, I heard that from AJ Leon from Missing Sync. You know, he was like, this isn't your practice life. Like when you're dead, you're dead. So I don't know why people put so many rules on shit.
Well, so I was, you know? One of the things that, and you guys, did you ever used to watch Behind the Music? So,
oh, yeah.
I remember singing on my couch watching Behind the Music, and I don't remember what artist it was, but to talk about cards stacked against you, everyone stop your freaking complaining, man. Like these people that have made it had no families, were on welfare, were in the worst section of town, and they are successful because they worked hard, and I do believe it's personal sacrifice. I've read a lot of things about Kobe Bryant and what he did and the sacrifice he's done to be one of the greatest basketball players ever, arguably, is he says all the time, it's like, you have to have that killer instinct and be willing to sacrifice it all to have what your goals are. And if you aren't willing to do that, then you should not receive them then. It's just that simple. So I think of like, look at behind the scenes and Behind the Music, and you watch one of those and you're like, man, what am I complaining about? I have a college education. My parents loved me. I have a freaking computer. I have access to all these amazing apps and business opportunities, and yet I'm still not doing it. Stop complaining and start taking action, and do it freaking today, because it won't get any easier. You're going to have a mortgage. You're going to have kids. It's not going to get easier. Just do it right now, man. And you'll learn and you'll be satisfied.
100%, man. I mean, I completely agree. Like I'm very liberal. I'm very left, you know, in general, but there's a lot of things I'm kind of starting to push more right, which is really thinking. Like when I was in Portland, there's a huge homeless community in Portland, you know, and I don't know why these guys are on the street, these, you know, men and women are on the streets. Like, I don't know what put them there. And if it's mental illness, I get that. Like, you know, I don't know how you can, I don't know what to talk to someone with mental illness and say, like, this is how you fix yourself. But the people who don't, and like, yeah, and they had the rug pulled out from underneath them. They don't have the house anymore, and they like lost all stuff. Like, and they're sitting around, like, when's someone going to help me? It's like, I'm almost, you know, and I might get flack for this, but I'm like, get off your fucking ass, you know, like there's so many tools out there. It's like, just think for a minute and just try to go do something, you know, and it sounds harsh, but I just don't have any patience for, or tolerance for people who are like, who want shit to be given to them. You know, it's like, I don't know. It just like being on the road really just changed my mind. Just seeing a lot of things and just like looking at people. But for me, I'm like, you know, and I'm walking by a homeless person. I'm just like, I'm homeless. Like I have all my stuff in my car, and I kind of like and I'm generating income to just go stay places, and I'm making it happen. You know, and like sometimes I'm a month away of being completely broke. You know, because it's like I'm struggling to build a business and I'm traveling the country. But it's like, and I'll stop for a second, sit on a bench somewhere. I'm like, this is fucking awesome. You know, like this is absolutely awesome. So I think that if people stop doing the whole, you know, and then you get the people that even watch this now, like, he's wrong. Let me talk shit about this. It's like, you know, whatever, man. Like you'll probably have an hour-long conversation saying why I'm wrong. And you could have spent an hour trying to figure out how to do the thing you want to do, you know? And if you take all those hours per day and times that by how many days in the year and how many years you've done that, you know, that's a lot of time you've just wasted telling people, spending the time saying like, I can, and this is how I do it. It's like, could you have just started trying in that fucking time?
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know. It just drives me.
Well, Mike, just like on that point, what I find is a lot of people talk. They're going to do all this. They're going to do this amazing business. They're going to do this amazing thing in life, and they never do. So the easiest way to do is put it down on paper. And don't list like 10 goals. Like one of the things I got away from, I used to list all these goals. Like I was a big goal writer, and you know, you read about the Harvard business MBAs that acquired 97% of the wealth, the top 3% because they wrote down goals and all these other stories. Congratulations. I look at it instead and say, put down a freaking goal and do it this year. So I had 3 goals this year. I did 2 of them. And I don't do like 3 goals is a bad example. I want to do 1 goal, but I did 3. I did 1 for my business, 1 for my family, and then 1 for myself personally. That's pretty straightforward. So for my family goal, my wife and I, we did something we wanted. My personal goal was the Ironman. I hit it this year. My business goal is something I have for my partners and I, what sort of numbers we're looking to achieve. And if you don't put that down on paper, you're just going to go through life. You're going to blink your eyes. You're like, oh my God, it was a month, 2 months, 5 months. It just, time flies by. If you don't achieve anything, you're really missing out. As you said, Mike, it's not your practice life. This is your life. Like do it now, today. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. I mean, that's cool. I mean, it's cool to say, it's cool to be sitting here right now and you're like, you know, I had a goal this year was do an Ironman, and done. Yeah. Like that's crazy. That's impressive, you know? And I mean, some people could be like to run a 5K and like they accomplish that. Like they could have the same exact feeling, you know, but I mean, an Ironman, that's
but it's all, and it's all relevant because awesome. When I was training for the Ironman, I remember I went to one of my first times running, and I was never a runner. I was in shape. I worked out. So I went to this runner's store in my town, and I go there to meet all these runners. I'm like, oh shit. Like they all their fancy gear, like color coordinated. I'm wearing sweats, a sweatshirt. This is before I knew about nip bleeding, Mike. So it's like, this was before I recognized how bad my nips were going to hurt from the chafing of running. And that's a whole nother story we could talk about as well.
It's amazing.
But what I found when I started talking about like my goal of being an Ironman, and they're like, oh, an Ironman, so easy. I'm like, it's so easy. Are you guys freaking lunatics? Are you lunatics? It's not easy. It's ridiculous. They're like, no, what's ridiculous is running this and doing that. I'm like, it's all relevant then. I mean, I'm
like, let me just get through the Ironman first, you know.
Calm down. But it goes back to like whatever you believe is a push goal for yourself. Congratulations. Anyone else that wants to say that that's not good enough, screw them. I mean, honestly, like I'm proud. Like I went and did on Sunday. My mother ran a 5K. I ran with her. She kicked ass. I was so proud of her. It's awesome. Like that's what you want to do, and that's what she felt was a push goal for herself. She did that 5K, and right when she was done, she's like, I want to do now more miles with you. I'm like, awesome. Now you get into something and you start getting the same thing with our members. Small, gradual steps of success can ultimately lead to large life-changing events that will happen to you. But you can't go from 0 to 60 being overweight to all of a sudden drinking kale. It just doesn't work like that. Small steps, you'll eventually get there.
Yeah, man, it's true. It's a process, and that people like want that quick fix. You know, like you said, like the 5-minute abs or the 6-minute abs, whatever it is. I mean, it's just the concept is so stupid. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, yeah, like a CrossFit workout, you could do a 6-minute workout and it'll waste you, but you have to do that consistently. I mean, yeah, man. So we're about 4 minutes out. I figured I'd just take this amount of time of just, you know, just if you have anything you want to plug, anything coming up, or, you know, anything you want to say, we'll just like, free reign and just talk with the company. And
yeah, maybe frame it too, like if people are listening, or whether it be now or later, and they're like, oh man, I want to work with you, or I want to work with your company. Like, how can they do that? Like Mike said, can I give you plug a little bit of how someone can work with you and just what you're doing?
Yeah, so our business is designed around helping people lose weight, get off of medications, live healthier lifestyles. So if you've read all the abundance of information online, you go into a gym and you feel intimidated, which most people do. You have big meatheads throwing around weights. They just intimidate the hell out of people. So we have a program that's non-threatening. They get tapped into a health coach. We come up with programs that they can do at their home. It's around fitness, nutrition, stress management. They can go to our website. It's medprowellness.com and just click around on the contact us and set up a meeting with a health coach. You have monthly memberships. It's pretty straightforward. And we have proof that these programs work and will help you live healthier lifestyles. It's proof people are losing weight. They're living healthier lives. They're happy. They're thrilled. They're excited. And we're proud of it. And we'll put our business up and what we're doing against anything out there because we know it works. Confidently saying it.
And real quick, like for you, what is your goal? I know we just talked about you don't really have too many goals for you, but like if you had a 5-year goal for the company, like what would you be? Like what's the vision?
Yeah, it's impacting more lives. It's pretty easy to say we want to do that. We're going to do that through this huge direct to consumer kind of push we're doing right now, where we're signing up individuals each day, and we have certain numbers. Maybe we hit 100,000 members or something like that, where we have really grown and impacted a lot of people.
Damn, that's crazy, man. Just real quick, I got a question from E-Boy. He mentioned a client found him on LinkedIn. I was wondering if it was just random or did they search and he had tags associated with his page? Yeah, so I want to know if you have tags on your LinkedIn page that help.
Certainly if you look at the keywords associated with your bio, your profile, any of the information you're sharing about yourself, you better damn well put entrepreneur or startup in there if you expect someone to find you. Honestly. And also, too, get into groups, because if you are like me and when you search for people, you do it into groups. There's a couple of groups that I'm in that I irregularly post information on, but at least when someone comes on my page, I have an image that looks like me. I don't look like I'm sitting at a cocktail hour and I cropped out my girlfriend's face. It's like, put a picture of you, man. Like stand in front of a camera and take a picture of him. Look halfway decent. It's not that hard. Smile, show your teeth. It's simple things. And you just need to be a little active, post content here and there. And I think that'll help you out a lot.
That's cool that you use LinkedIn a lot. A lot of people that we talk to in our group, they're very Facebook driven. Twitter, Blab's big one, Periscope, and no one. I'd say like 1%, if that, uses LinkedIn. I used it a lot last year.
That's all I use. That's my baby. I'm doing a talk next Monday for like the Small Business Association. They have like this big conference for people looking to break into the federal and state kind of marketplace. And so I'm doing a whole thing on LinkedIn and how to sell on LinkedIn. Exactly what we're talking about right now. It's been widely successful for me. If you're looking for investors, and you can find them on LinkedIn. If you're looking for a board of advisors, you can find them on LinkedIn. I've sat down with pretty much every major company you can list for my business through LinkedIn. They didn't buy from me because I was too early, but I got in front of them. I had time on the phone with them. We're talking to big companies. So don't make excuses that you can't get your product in front of people. You can find them on LinkedIn. You just have to be committed to the process.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, Clark, I appreciate you. It's about a minute to 6 or a couple seconds to 6, but really appreciate it. We put your website in the comments. Jared has it. Maybe scroll up a little bit. And yeah, man, Jared, do you have anything else you want to end with?
Just, if you haven't already, I know we've mentioned already, but to sign up for or not sign up for, so it's like super salesy. No, if you haven't connected with us on Facebook, we have a free Facebook group.
Buy now, motherfuckers.
3 payments of we have our Facebook group. I was trying to
get the link.
Pull up a link for something to share while I was doing that, so I got a little distracted. But yeah, to join the group, it's a huge part of this. So a lot of you on Blab come into the Blab because Blab's so social. You follow us and then you watch the videos, but we also have a group which is like the other 85% of the conversations is the Entrepreneurs Roundtable. You just go to Facebook, you search Entrepreneurs Roundtable. Mike may be copying the link. There it is. Click on that, join, and you'll get a personal message from either Mike or myself, and then you'll be a roundtabler. So
yeah, man.
Maybe on the interview soon. Like I just saw a guy late last night. I was up late working on some stuff, and a guy posted something, and it was like awesome. And then everyone jumped on it. I was like, this guy needs to be on the show. This was like awesome. So hopefully like he's actually awesome. He didn't just have this one piece of insight, because I got to go talk to him like pre-interview.
We hope you're awesome.
He's like, that's it. Like, I'm a horrible businessman. I have this one amazing piece of advice. But we've had members on the show.
We'll help him grow.
I mean, we've had Daniel on twice, and he's coming on a third time. The one was kind of a little bit sporadic, but all because we met him.
Yeah.
You know, he was in the group, and we've seen what he's done and whatnot. So yeah, join the group.
Yeah, we're always looking for people to give back, any information or any helpful feedback for entrepreneurs. And next week we've got Frank Morales from Sandler Sales Training. Clark. So for a while I was doing every Monday I would send an email out, and Clark is on that email, and Frank is also on that email. So he was my sales coach for about 1.5 years through Sandler. And if you don't know Sandler, it's a really good sales training. It's one of my favorite things that I've done, that I've invested in. So we're going to have, hopefully things go well if we can get them on next Tuesday at 5:00 Eastern, which is our time, right, Jeff?
Yes.
So I don't screw this up anymore.
Not one piece.
Not like it happened today or anything. I didn't screw that up today. But awesome. Well, we appreciate it. Again, Entrepreneurs Roundtable, the link, Facebook page link is in the comments. Clark's MedPro Wellness website is also in the comments. Clark, thanks so much, dude. Really appreciate it. And we should get drinks soon.
I love it. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
All right.
All right, me too.
See you.